Absolutely phenomenal. So 3 articles made that. The good articles, to my eye, are just as good. Some of the other things that happened during this that are quite remarkable, the students didn't go off into a room, write their paper, and then post it on Wikipedia. They put their draft right away on Wikipedia. Many of them had their articles deleted instantly because they weren't good enough. They then had to go back to the Wikipedia community and beg to be reinstated. And the Wikipedia community came back at them and told them time and time again the ways that their articles weren't good enough. And then when they were put up for peer review, they went through that same process again. But it wasn't all negative. This group, now I don't know if you ever got this American television show in Spain called The A-Team from the 1980s with Mr. T. I'm guessing from the laughter some of you did. When I was 12 years old, it was my favorite show. So, if you have a treasured article, if no one else can help, and if you can find reliable sources, then maybe you can hire the FA team. These people came out of nowhere. And let's take a look at who these people are. There's someone here who says, I'm good at alphabetizing lists of names. My passion is reference formatting. This is what they do for fun. These people came out of nowhere and provided instructional and technical support to the students. Not only were they challenging them to back up their references with scholarly points, they were giving them encouragement and they were helping them. And then of course too, if you're writing about a Colombian author, there would be people from Colombia who are strongly nationalistic and protective of their authors and trying to make sure that those authors are being represented in the best way possible. So you have this whole set of things coming into play. So I'm just going to leave the description at that. But again, go back to my major point. So why do I think this is the best work that I've been associated with at the University of British Columbia? And again, I really should stress, my contribution was very minor. The professor who ran this, John Beasley Murray, professor of Latin American Studies, that's his contribution. My contribution was extremely minor. Well, I like it because one of my slogans, it's possible Carlos quoted it, I was kind of drifting off there. Fast, cheap, and out of control. That's the kind of technology I like. I like technology people can get into quickly like a wiki. You can create a page instantly. The edit button is right there. I like technologies like that. Blogs too, RSS. I like technology that's fast and easy to get up. Cheap, it doesn't have to be open source, but I like free. And the way Web 2.0 is going and the way some of these businesses are behaving, I think open source is looking more important all the time. And again, not only is Wikipedia a free resource, but the software behind it, MediaWiki, is a very widely adopted wiki platform that people can install and use themselves. And it's what we run at the university ourselves. This is the part I think is most important. And this is where the open education comes in. This isn't a case where somebody writes a paper, submits it to a professor or a teaching assistant, gets the paper returned, professor writes some things, gives it a number grade, hands it back, student looks at it, puts it under a box and never looks at it again. These people are creating important public resources. One thing, I'm glad I didn't close the window, the statistics on these articles. So the article on Gabriel Garcia Marquez, which was crap, terrible when they started, got up to featured article status. So they took something terrible and made it something beautiful. 740,000 views per year. That article I showed you on El Señor Presidente projected to see 40,000 views per year. And that was a resource that didn't exist before. So 40,000 people, instead of having nothing, get a very nice piece of scholarship given to them for free. And of course, the reason why so many people see it is the Google rank. So most of this work ends up being number 1 or number 2 on a Google search for the title of the book or the name of the author. And that kind of comes to the last point. The students, when I interviewed some of them, they all complained that it was too much work, that they never had to work so hard in their lives. But they all said, well, why did you do it? You know, your grades weren't worth any more than term papers. Well, we got the impression we were doing something meaningful, something real. So the students were prepared to work harder if they are, given a task that seems meaningful. And I skipped over this point. When you saw those citations, when you see the quality of that writing, you realize that we talk a bit, and I don't know if the terms get used the same in the Spanish-speaking world, but in North America, everyone's always talking about new media literacy, which means kind of the literacy skills that are needed to navigate new media. What you see with an example like this is it does not compete with traditional literacy. It builds on traditional literacy. Those students are learning the importance of revising their writing, rewriting, working with others, but they're also getting the new media skills of collaboration and working with people across the planet that they've never met before and will never know. So those skills are not necessarily contradictory. I'm going to skip most of this next section, but one of my things I do in my day job is we host weblogs for students and staff. I think it's very important for students to have their own choice of platform. This is a quote from Ivan Illich. He's most famous for writing a book called Deschooling Society. He also wrote a book that in English translates as Tools of Conviviality. And I'm not going to read this whole text, but essentially what he says is he really believes that the structures of the tools we give people to work with, especially when they're learning, profoundly affects the nature of what that work and what that learning is going to be. He calls it the deep structure of it. So we need to work with high independent efficiency. So the ability to control your own environment is really important to Illich. And to use the energy and the imagination of the individual while working collaboratively, yet allowing, here's the combination, autonomous and creative intercourse. So yes, you maintain your sole independence, but you're still able to work collaboratively with others. You can do your own thing, but still be part of something bigger, be part of a collective endeavor. You can choose when you become parts of those collective endeavors when it works for you. And if you look at the projects that tend to work most successfully on the web, people are doing their own thing, fulfilling their own selfish desires, but they're not really selfish, yet they're contributing to something larger. So I'll just show one example of one of the blog programs. But anyway, so the students maintain their own space, they control the blog, and with selective tagging, they decide what content goes to the group collective blog. So that's something that actually took about 2 years of development. If any of you are interested in it, everything we've done at UBC is open source, and most of it's just WordPress plugins that we're happy to share. And we've used others as well. I'm going to keep going. Actually, before I get too much into cheap thrills, just before I came here today, I went back to the hotel to do a little bit of last-minute preparation. And I asked my friend Jim Groom, who I'll be talking to later, we were on instant message, and I said, well, you run a really good weblog platform at the University of Mary Washington. Do you have one or two examples that I don't know about that I could show the people today? And he got really sadistic, and he decided to torture me with about 50 different examples, all of which are quite good. So I'm just going to blast through about 10 of them here. But honestly, he's probably still in his instant messenger client firing emails at me. This is at a university with 4,000 people in total.